My name is Joel Forman, and I've been with Slalom Consulting for almost 4 years now, primarily in the web development space. So there's three main services that exist in the current solution that all run offline or asynchronously. One is a service that sends email reminders to people. Another service is for kind of updating the status of events. And then another one that when you get a new video on msdev, we have a service that will go out and extract a frame from that, save it off as an image that can be used to overlay on top of our video player. So a thumbnail extraction service. So all three of those need to move into Azure, and they're going to move into worker roles, which is the kind of the compute service where you can run things offline or asynchronously. Some of the challenge is really just around a lot of the logic doesn't have to change, the guts of those services. It's just instrumenting them and figuring out how to put them in a worker role, how to kick off those services when we want them to start, just how to arrange them. It's not going to be cost effective to have them kind of all separate, because we don't want to pay for 3 worker roles when we could have one doing all the work. It's kind of how to arrange the work in the worker role. And there's not enough load to kind of make scalability a concern for these. So I'm very confident that moving them into a worker role is going to be very similar to the way it works today. It's just kind of a different facility for running those. The bulk of the service remains unchanged. The code that has, a little bit of code has to be written in terms of how to kick off that service, how to happen. So when a worker role runs, it's very similar to a Windows service in that it's going to fire up, and you have to manage. If you want, if you want it to sleep for 15 minutes and wake up again and do more work, that's the little bit of code that you have to write. So writing a little bit of the instrumentation on when to perform an action is really what's involved, but the bulk of the service remains unchanged. There's going to be a little bit of stuff to figure out in terms of the thumbnail extraction service. It uses some Windows features that are not supported in Windows Azure. We're either going to have to identify another tool to perform that extraction for us, or possibly work with that Azure team on how our existing service can work in the Azure platform. I was looking at all the components of the msdev platform and seeing like what they would map to in an Azure environment, what features were being used that wouldn't be supported, and trying to kind of come up with some good estimates around some of those components about what we'd have to implement as an alternative strategy.
Pretty straightforward. We took the code snippets that we had for the Windows services and put it inside of worker threads. And the worker role basically spawns those threads and kicks them off one at a time.
Before, with our service, you didn't get the option to pick what thumbnail was generated. It just did that for you.
We had an administrative elevated service that ran the server and would take a frame or snapshot of the image 30 seconds into the video.
The initial problem was that it was using a Windows feature that wasn't turned on for Windows Azure.
We couldn't port it to Windows Azure because you don't have administrative rights for some services in the cloud.
The solution we found for the thumbnail extraction was actually a Silverlight solution. We were already using Silverlight in parts of the msdev platform, so it was something that was very common to the website already, common to the user experience. We found a solution that runs on the client to extract that image, and we were able to put that into the admin interface of msdev to allow the end user, when they're uploading the video, to then select a thumbnail from that video. Now a user can keep doing it over and over until they find the thumbnail they're happy with. We found an alternative solution that actually provided a few more features to our client that they ended up liking.
Obviously, it's just cost savings is a big one. I think that it's going to be generally cheaper than acquiring your own hardware to be able to kind of rent hardware from Windows Azure and deploy applications there. Time to market is the biggest, I think. Literally, as soon as I'm ready in Visual Studio, I could have something on the public internet to show a client. That's pretty powerful.